Hello, welcome to this little presentation. So about a year ago, or maybe a bit longer than that, I did another YouTube video about kind of like describing the whole journey of growing a SaaS company, bootstrapping a SaaS company to 36K MRR. A year on from that, we're now at around 50K MRR. We passed 50K in May, I think, or April. So this presentation is sort of a follow-up of the last video, but it's a bit shorter, it's a bit more condensed. And this is just 7 lessons that I kind of want to highlight on this journey growing a SaaS to 50K MRR. So hopefully this will be a bit more condensed, and these will be a bit more kind of like tangible and useful lessons that hopefully you can apply to your own SaaS journey. So where are we? Okay, so that's me. If you don't know who I am, I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm whoops. Oh no. What did I do? Okay, sorry, I'm not very good at using Loom. So my name's John Yongfook. I'm the founder of bannerbear.com, which is an image generation API service, and it's been going for a few years now. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a developer, so I guess my journey will be most helpful to you if you're also a technical founder like myself, bootstrapped, and I'm an international zoo model. If you happen to go to Singapore and you go to the zoo, you'll see my photo. That's from a long time ago, from a past life, one might say. Okay, so this is our sort of growth curve over the last 3 years. I'll make this one smaller actually, so we can see more of the screen, see less of my face. So you can see that if you watch the other video, you'll see that I spent a good few years kind of like finding the right idea, finding the right product, and then sort of like when that happened finally, things sort of started to move. And this graph is really only showing the point from where things started to move. So actually I started to generate some MRR, and you can see things grew from that point. So yeah, it's been roughly, what is this? Yeah, like a solid 3.5 year journey now to 50K MRR. And if you want to know more about the sort of backstory, how I landed on the idea and all the other things that I tried that failed, then go and watch the other video, which I'll link in the top somewhere. So let's continue. You can go to bannerbear.com open if you want to see the live stats. So I'm an open startup. You can see the live stats at any time. User acquisition metrics, revenue metrics, churn, that kind of thing. All right, so we're going to go straight into the first lesson. And the first lesson is aim for product founder fit. So I think this is one of those things that doesn't get talked about enough. What is product founder fit? A lot of people talk about product market fit, which is where, you've created a product and it kind of like finds the perfect market, the perfect set of customers, and then all you need to do is sort of like double down on acquiring those specific types of customers, and then you ride off into the sunset as a millionaire. Product market fit is sort of like an ongoing thing. It's like you don't sort of get product market fit. It's a journey more than a destination, if you know what I mean. So that's one of those things that you always have to be sort of tweaking, talking to customers, figuring out what they want, figuring out, does my product do this? Is that something that we should be doing? Maybe it does do it and they just haven't sort of figured out how to do it in your product yet. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to do there. That's product market fit, and that's kind of like table stakes. But I think what is more important actually is something called product founder fit. And that's the idea of like, how relevant are you as a founder to starting this product, to be the one that brings this product into the world. The reason it's important is because I think, more and more, the world is becoming a much noisier place, lots and lots of competition. So if you don't have good product founder fit, and the characteristics of product founder fit are things like some experience in the industry. Maybe you have used another version of this product at a previous company, so you have a lot of experience with tools like this. Most importantly, I think, is like you have some passion for it. Like, it's one thing to have expertise, but it's another thing to have passion. So if you're genuinely really interested in this problem space, and you're genuinely really interested in building a tool that kind of solves these problems for people, then you've got good product founder fit. And the reason that's also important is because if you don't have good product founder fit, then someone else will come along. Some other company will come along, whether they're bootstrapped or VC funded or whatever, and they'll build something better than you, and they'll be more passionate about marketing it, and they'll be more willing to sort of like grind through the slow periods or the recession or whatever. And if you don't have that passion, that interest, and that founder fit, then most likely you'll just give up and you'll throw in the towel and you'll start some other product. So I think, especially in the early days, before you've kind of like reached ramen profitability and everything, it's really important to have product founder fit. So think to yourself, like, am I the perfect person to build this product? If not, honestly, I wouldn't waste time. I would find a different idea to work on that you honestly feel that you have an edge against other founders, because you have the expertise, you have the passion, you have the audience, you have any of these kind of attributes. So that would be lesson number one. And if you want sort of like an example of how that manifested negatively, again, you can go and watch my other video where I talk about the early journey, where I was like launching a whole bunch of different things, and none of them were really sort of connected in any way, and none of them were really, none of them really played to my particular sort of strengths or expertise. They were just a bunch of, simple apps, and I was just trying to launch things and see how it went. None of them went anywhere. So you can go and Google Youngfoot 12 Startups, which is when I was trying to do the 12 Startups Challenge, launching a new product every month. Terrible product founder fit. They were all over the map. I tried to launch a job board. That's the one in the top left. Tried to launch some kind of like asynchronous chat tool, and so on. And, as a solo bootstrap founder, like, what do I know about building a asynchronous chat tool for teams? I can technically build it, but what do I really know about it? Do I know how to market that? Do I know the needs of those types of customers? Do I even have any experience in that area? No. So it's terrible product founder fit. Not surprised it didn't go anywhere in retrospect. And then when I actually did sort of double down on the area that I'm interested in, really kind of quite passionate about, which was sort of design automation and image generation, media generation by API in particular, that's when things really started to change. All right, we'll move on. Next lesson number 2 would be don't price too low. I think a lot of people say this, so I don't need to dwell on it too much, but it's one of those things that, especially if you're an early stage founder, you probably need to hear it multiple times. Have it drilled into you. Don't charge $9 a month for your B2B product. Companies can generally afford more, and the higher up the more value you're creating, and then the higher the charge you can the higher the price you can charge, the higher quality customers you get. Basically, if you're charging something that's like not, it's a vitamin and it's not a painkiller, then it's difficult to charge high prices, and then you'll end up with troublesome customers, let's say, potentially troublesome customers. But if you're charging a high price for a painkiller product, then you tend to get the best type of customers, the business customers, where you're sort of providing some kind of mission critical, piece of infrastructure or technology. One of my favorite kind of memes about this is this. It's, obviously a bit of a generalization, but I find it to be quite true in a way. So you've got like let's say low price customer. I mean, this says B2C, so it's like, I don't know, it's an app, or it's a mobile app, or it's, some fun sort of time wasting tool or something. I don't know. And you see these kind of reviews all the time. You see these kind of reactions. It's like, I'm going to charge back my $1 subscription, or how dare you even charge in the first place? It's, you get those kind of users. And then a B2C customer that's paying hundreds of dollars a month, they're like, cool, thank you. For a few reasons. Probably because, number one, as I said, if you're solving a business problem, if you're solving a business problem, you have more of a relationship with your customer. It's like they need you and you need them. Whereas if you're, selling something to a, consumer or something of low value, they don't particularly need you. So they can go without, right? So you end up with, some people have this sort of like sense of entitlement, right? It's like, I don't really need you, but I'm going to give you my $2 anyway. And now because I'm giving you money, I'm going to make you jump through a whole bunch of hoops, and I'm going to be mean to you in your support. That tends to happen when you sort of lower down the value chain. So charge more, B2B, and make sure that you're a painkiller, not a vitamin. So all a bit obvious, I know, but I think you as an early stage founder, you probably can't hear that enough. All right, next lesson. Find out what works and do more of it. This is another one of those kind of like, it reads very obviously. It reads like, like duh, Captain Obvious. But I think it's good to remind ourselves that, you don't necessarily need to try a whole bunch of like different marketing and growth tactics. Like once you've found something that's moving the needle for you, there's an argument for just like focus on that particular strategy, focus on that tactic, and just do more of it and milk it for all it's worth. It's way, the ROI on something like that is way better than experimenting with a whole bunch of, different channels that you might not have experience in, that are not moving the needle. Something starts to move the needle, double down on it, and just do more of it. So I noticed this happening, I think it's the next slide. Yeah, early on, I created this kind of like, I settled into this rhythm of doing 1 week of coding, 1 week of marketing, and then sending a newsletter. 1 week of coding, 1 week of marketing, sending a newsletter, and just repeating that every 2 weeks. And I just found that just created this momentum and this flywheel. And that's all I really needed to do. It's hard because it's really hard to be that consistent. But yeah, I dragged myself into MailChimp and sent those newsletters. Writing a newsletter is not, it's not exciting. You're kind of recapping everything that you've done. It's like not, you've already done it, so it's not exciting to write about it again. But if you do that, and if you keep people updated about how the product is growing, and you keep people engaged with tweets, and you keep people, coming to your blog to read articles, that consistency just builds. It builds a few things. One, you stay top of mind. So you're the first thing that people think of when someone somewhere says, I need a image generation API tool. You're the first, but people will be like, oh yeah, you should use Banner Bear because I saw their newsletter yesterday. That's number one. And then number two, you build a sense of, I don't know what you would call it, like loyalty or affinity. When I send a newsletter, now, people just reply to it, and we just have sort of a back and forth, and there's like a little mini kind of like community even within my newsletter mailing list for Banner Bear. So I tried really hard to keep this as consistent as possible. I think I managed it for about a year, and then I needed a little bit of a break. And honestly, it was super obvious to see that like when I stopped being consistent is when things sort of like start to slow down. So I'm actually trying really hard now to get back into this this kind of era of consistency, because I think it just worked really well for me, and I didn't need to complicate it by trying other things, which we did after this phase. I think we tried like a few other channels, and in retrospect, we should have just doubled down on this, like made our newsletters better, made them more engaging, made our blog posts better, and most importantly, kept up that consistency. So, lesson learned. Number 4? Yeah, number 4 is create free tools. I think if you're building a SaaS product, then, and especially if you're a technical founder, then you're probably wondering, okay, what do I do for marketing? Like, okay, I can write a blog post and then like no one's going to read it, and then it'll just sit there on my blog and like maybe gather a bit of like SEO backlink juice. Okay, that's a somewhat good use of my time. I think if you're a technical founder and you've got some good ideas, then one of the highest value ways you can use your skills for marketing for your product is to create free tools. So have a think about, all right, my product is this, and my customers are looking for, XYZ. What would be some kind of like free tools that I can offer them that they might also be searching for, such that they will, search for something free tool, land on my page, and then hopefully then go on to discover my paid product, my SaaS. So I built, this was back when I was still solo. I built like a few free tools on bannerbear.com. You can go and have a look. One of them is a free certificate generator. One of them is a sort of like tweet, what would you call it? Like a tweet image generation tool. So you plug in a tweet URL and it gives you like a nice graphic back of that tweet. Not a screenshot, like a stylized kind of graphic. You can go and play with it. It's called Tweetagram, if you want to Google it. And like a couple of other free tools. And those do great. Like they get us a lot of traffic. So the reason that you want to build these is, number one, yes, you might get, if you're really good with your targeting and with your customer segmentation, you might be lucky enough to actually get real prospects from Google who are like searching for these free tools and then actually go on to pay for your paid product. But that's the happy path. That's the best case scenario. The next level down from that, though, is still really good, because if you build a free tool, if you build a useful free tool, people will link to it. And that's what you want. People are always thinking like, how do I get backlinks? I want people to link to me. This is how you get backlinks. It's very unlikely these days that you'll get backlinks from a blog post, unless it's, one of these kind of, what do you call it? Like a landmark sort of pillar blog post, like a once a year deep dive into your numbers or something. So, some kind of like a flagship. That's the word I'm thinking of. Like a flagship blog post that you spend days or weeks writing, and then maybe you get a few backlinks to that. But honestly, these days, I think it's pretty unlikely. It's more, people are more likely to link to a free tool. It's like people on Twitter will be compiling, here are some free resources that you can use. They'll add your link there. They'll add your link to some Reddit posts, etc. So if you want backlinks, and you do, because that's what, that's what helps with your rankings, then creating free tools is one of the best ways to do that, one of the best ways to use your engineering skills as a technical founder for marketing purposes. So just as an example, we get, so Banner Bear, as I said, has a few free tools on the marketing site. So if you Google for Twitter preview tool, we are the #1 result. Interestingly, above Twitter's own Twitter preview tool. And if you Google online certificate generator, we are the #1 result, even above Canva, surprisingly. So yeah, we get a ton of traffic to those queries. And like I said, I'm not sure that we get, any kind of amount of paid customers from people who are looking for a free online certificate generator. Excuse me, but it's not about that. It's more about building those backlinks. So, and also it gives you something cool to talk about. I think it's like you need to create things that your non-paying audience can also use and sort of kind of like figure out who you are and what you stand for. And, the more things like this you give people to play with, the better. And they'll share it with other people and so on and so forth, which I think leads into my next point, which is, next point. Hire when it hurts. So this one is a bit more kind of like for the later stage. I would say, I'm going to keep this one short. I would say that whenever I've hired because I'm desperately in need of help, then it's always worked out really well. So the Banner Bear team is 7 people right now. And, that means I've hired more than 7 people over the last 2 years or so whenever I started hiring. It's always worked out when I've hired when it hurts. So when I physically cannot handle all of the tasks or all of the responsibilities, I need to delegate it to someone else. Before I go crazy, that is when hiring has worked for me. When I've hired because there's something like aspirational that I want to do, if that makes sense. It's like, oh, what if we had someone who could do, who could go off and explore this. Then it hasn't really worked out. That might be, it's most definitely partly my failure as a manager. But I think if you're a bootstrapped founder, solo founder, then you are time poor, right? So you won't really have the time to sort of help that person navigate sort of exactly what their role is and exactly what their deliverables are. You just got some sort of like vague idea of like, I would love to, like for example, I would love to have an amazing YouTube community. I would love to have a YouTube channel full of videos. So go off and do that. It just doesn't work in reality. I think it needs to be, in order for that to work as a in a professional context, you'll need to give that person a lot more of your time to flesh out what it is that you really mean. And you just, as a solo founder, you just don't really have that time. So, and not having a YouTube channel currently is not hurting. It's not like something that I'm like pulling my hair out over. However, things like what the classic example of this would be customer support. So there'll come a point where you physically just don't have the time to keep doing customer support by yourself, unless you want that to be your full-time job and you are just going to like stop developing your product, which obviously is not an option for most founders, or for 99.9% of founders. So at some point you'll need to delegate the customer support responsibilities to someone else, and so that you can go back to focusing on the product. That's a good example of hiring when it hurts. And my 2 customer support guys who've been with me now for, actually it's coming up on 2 years now. They've been with me from the beginning, and we have a great relationship, and I'm very thankful for them to be around, because I hired them when it was hurting. Okay, yeah, that's the team. And next, this is the second to last, I think, or is this the last? Not sure. Excuse me. Be retweetable is sort of a lesson. There's a bit more, it's one of the most wishy-washy lessons here, I think. What I'm trying to say by this is it's a noisy world out there. Lots of competition, lots of copycats, it's ugly out there, right? Anything you can do to kind of like elevate yourself above the rest of like the normies, the normal people, just the copycats who sort of just copied your product lazily and slapped some other branding on it. Anything you can do to elevate yourself so that people are talking about you and not them is good, obviously, right? So when I say be retweetable, I'm not specifically talking about Twitter. Twitter is just a proxy for saying you got to do things that people are going to tell other people about. You got to tweet things that people will retweet. You got to do things that people will share with their friends. You got to write content that people want to post on whatever, LinkedIn or whatever. So this is just a sort of a proxy for like, be interesting. Don't be unattractive. So the way that this manifests for us is we do quite a lot of like branding type stuff. We do. I think most of my followers know that this yellow bear is Banner Bear. It's our company mascot. I buy a lot of yellow things. I don't know if that. I buy a lot of yellow things. I tweet yellow things. We made these bears. We've made a bunch of merch, and it's not necessarily to, it's not. And we did a massive rebrand at the end of, when was it? I think it was like middle of last year. The bear was not yellow in the beginning. The bear was just a face, like an outline, black line face. A black outline face, sorry. And it was my designer who joined us last year. She was the one who made the bear yellow and gave him a body as well. So what am I trying to say? I'm just trying to say, I think all of this helps. We're the big yellow bear company, and we do this kind of branding stuff to just stay in the conversation. We don't sell these bears. We're not making them for money. They cost us money. In fact, they cost about maybe about $30 each. Not cheap, and it took us a long time to get the design right. We had our design, but then you got to translate that into a toy, physical toy. Trust me, that kind of stuff takes a while. Working with different manufacturers and stuff like that. But we do this to stay relevant, to stay in the conversation, to delight our existing friends and family and existing audience, existing customers. And it's fun as well. So we do stuff like that. I'm always on Twitter. I'm always trying to post things that people will retweet or be interested in. Some of it is admittedly, sort of, if you know the term, some of it is shit posting. But then I'm also trying to do some helpful stuff, like this video. Like this video is a classic example of me, I want to stay relevant. I want to stay in the conversation. I want people to share my content. I want to be retweetable. This is not purely altruistic. Obviously, I'm sharing my journey in the hopes that some of these tips will help you. But it's also because I want to be retweetable, which is that lesson number 6 that we just passed. Okay, I think this is the last lesson now. Migrate to Cloudflare. Again, this one's kind of like a proxy lesson. I don't literally mean migrate to Cloudflare, although honestly, if there's any sort of tool that I've used in the last year where I think, probably everyone would benefit from using this tool. It's Cloudflare. It's an amazing tool. Just the ability to set up these very granular rules of who can get through to your website. If you want to block off a whole country, you can do that. If you want to block off to a more granular level, you can do that. If you want to set, very specific rate limits about, people from this country can only access a certain amount of time, etc., etc., you can do that. It's really amazing. The story behind this is we got DDoSed. When was it? I think it was October last year. And if you don't know what a DDoS is, it's where a hacker is essentially, it's a low level, hacking attempt. They're sending a huge amount of traffic to your website, so much that your server falls over. Doesn't matter if you've got like a super beefy setup or anything. They'll push such a vast amount of traffic through that whatever hardware or VPS or whatever you're on, it'll eventually fall over. And we got a ransom note in our inbox, or in my inbox, and they wanted X amount of Bitcoin. I'm like, I don't even have Bitcoin, and I'm not going to pay you, asshole. But I spent the night migrating to Cloudflare, which offers a lot of kind of protection against this kind of thing. And it was a very, very stressful night, and not really something that I ever want to experience again. And hopefully we won't, touch wood, because we're now on Cloudflare. It's very easy now for me to just, if we're ever under attack like that again, I can just like go click and then they're gone. And the lesson in all of this is I should have migrated way earlier. It was always on my to-do list to move to Cloudflare, because I wanted these kind of I wanted this kind of protection against the possibility of being DDoSed. And then of course we did actually get DDoSed. So I guess this lesson is just a proxy for one of those, if you have one of those things that's on your to-do list and it's really important, but you just keep putting it off and you put it off, especially if it's something technical like a migration, just do it. Just get it done. This was totally my fault that we were vulnerable to DDoS, because I should have migrated to Cloudflare way before. It was on the to-do list. My bad. So now, yeah, I just suck it up and I don't wait too long before performing these kinds of migrations. And actually, you know what? The migration to Cloudflare, I thought it was going to be really messy, but it was actually okay. I think Cloudflare missed a few of our DNS records that's really all that you do, by the way. It just imports your DNS records, and then you switch your name servers over to Cloudflare, and that's pretty much all the migration involves. But for whatever reason, Cloudflare missed some of our DNS records, so I had to go and add those in later manually. But that was okay. Not too complicated. And literally, the moment we were sort of like under Cloudflare's umbrella, I could just click and make the DDoS go away. So, highly recommend Cloudflare. But again, this lesson is a proxy for don't put off those important jobs, especially if it's something technical. Okay, I think I've got. Oh yeah, that's. I wrote a blog post about that. So if you wanna go and read about the actual migration or the chronology of horrible events, then you can go to the bannerbear.com blog and find my DDoS article. And then what's this last slide? Oh yeah, just the summary. So aim for product founder fit. Don't price too low. Find out what works and do more, i.e. be consistent. Create free tools. People love to link to them. You'll get a lot of backlinks. Be retweetable. Just be interesting. Just be someone. Just be a company that people want to talk about. People want to share your content. People want to share your thoughts. Hire when it hurts, as in if you're a solo founder, stick to hiring when you can cleanly delegate tasks and responsibilities to another person. If it's something more of an aspirational role where you kind of want someone to go off and explore this, that, and the other, in my experience, it doesn't work because you just don't have the time to give to that person so that they can flourish. Do you know what I mean? And then lastly, migrate to Cloudflare. Cloudflare is an amazing product. It's saved our butts, and it's a proxy for don't put off these important technical migrations or technical jobs. Don't put them off for too long. Get them done. Whew, okay. I think that's about it. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. This is going to go on YouTube, or reply to the tweet, and I'd be happy to answer. And yeah, keep on keeping on. And hopefully we'll speak again when we're at, I don't know, what's the next milestone? Maybe 60K MRR. Let's see. All right. Goodbye for now.